But Allah made every individual, as long as you are a Muslim, it's obligatory on you to pray. And when it's obligatory on you to pray, every cycle of your prayers, every raka'ah, you must read Al-Fatiha. It's like a love letter, Allah telling you that Allah love you.
Again and again, 5
Again and
times a
again
day.
and again, mashallah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to Season 2 of Tune Islam, a podcast for Singapore Muslim millennials on Islamic faith, love and happiness. Here is where we share our spiritual guidance and exchange practical insights to inspire positivity and uplift our well-being. My name is Azza Fariha and I will be your host for today. Now, today we have a very special guest with us. We have Ustazah Shamim Sultana from the Asatiza Youth Network. Welcome, Ustazah. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, Azhar. How are you?
Good, Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Now, Ustazah Shamim is a very familiar face in the local Islamic event circuit. She is a captivating and motivational speaker who dedicates herself to teaching classes on many different aspects of the Islamic faith, including classes in English, Malay, and also Bahasa Indonesia. She is also the founder of Ilm Hub by Shamim Sultana. Now, Ustazah, I'm going to jump right into it. You know, we are in Ramadan. In bulan Ramadan, we go overboard in preparation. You know, it's a very special and blessed month for us. And we will ask ourselves, you know, how am I doing this Ramadan? How is my heart doing? How is my faith? You never know the answers that you might be finding when you ask yourself those questions. Sometimes I feel that we might not like the answers to these questions. And that's the thing. You know, Ramadan is not a usual month. It's a time for us to confront our nafs and also our deepest demons. What if in that process we find that we've reached a point in our faith where we are just going through the motion and we are not really feeling connected to our faith? How, in this case, Ustazah, do we take effort to make sure that we spiritually connect better during the important, blessed month of Ramadan?
Okay, I think that's a very important question, Azhar. I think for Ramadan, it's a training ground for all of us. And it's an individual experience. So it's about you and God. It's about you and God. And so it's not about how people are celebrating their Ramadan, what salah they are praying and all that. It's all about you and God. If I can wrap it up in a summary, Ramadan is all about how we connect to God through our salah, our prayers, and understanding the Quran, which is understanding His words. So if you look at the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, the month of Ramadan is known as the month of Quran. So that's the time when we should really, really get ourselves closer to the Quran. But I think the hindrance here is that many of us, we do not understand Arabic. So when we read the Quran, okay, the first day of Ramadan, all of us get excited, you know, like let's read the Quran. Second day, third day, and perhaps for the ladies when they have their menstruation, then suddenly they have 7 days break.
Yes.
And then, you know, it dampens, the spirit dampen. Oh my, you know, everybody else is like reading.
Going full force.
Oh man,
You know?
I'm so, you know, I'm at the back now. So it really dampens the spirit and all that. But at the end of the day, it's individual experience. Whether you have menstruation or not, you still can get close to the Quran. And I think that's very important. So I think for every one of us, if you really want to take that step for this Ramadan to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's nothing more important than understanding the Quran. So this Ramadan, whether you have menstruation or not, whether you can pray or not, or whether you can fast or not, you know, there's some of us who are breastfeeding or who are sick, you know, and you can't fast, but you still can connect to the Quran. So I think that's very important for us to really get prepared before Ramadan to embrace the Quran, and during Ramadan to make sure that if we feel that we are lost, we feel that our iman, our faith is dampening, we quickly go back to the Quran again. It's always there. It's waiting for us. The word Quran itself comes from the word qara'a, which means read, to be read. The Quran is there to be read. But how many of us, we are not just approaching the Quran. So I think that's one of the things that we should get ourselves closer to the Quran.
I think that's very interesting, Ustazah, because even for me on my personal experience, going through the motion also means even though you solat 5 times a day, you're going through the motion because you're just reading off what you can memorize, but not actually understanding what you are reading. So by listening to you say that, I think it's important for us to also know the translation of what we are reading when we solat, right, Ustazah?
Yes, that's very true. Ramadan comes once in a year. And there's no, I mean, like, we cannot just wait for Ramadan to renew our faith. So I think, in fact, understanding what we read from the Quran, and it's so beautiful that in our prayers, in our salah, we read the Quran. And one of the surah that we read is actually Al-Fatiha. So actually, if we really understand and internalize Surah Al-Fatiha, it's something that Allah SWT give us to renew the faith. To renew the faith. Every time we feel that our faith is dampening, it's there to help remind us why we are here. It helps to remind us who we are in front of God. You know, so to understand what is in the Salah and what's in the Quran, I think that's very essential for every Muslim.
Maybe you can share with us a little bit, Ustazah, since you mentioned about Al-Fatiha being able to strengthen our faith and deepen our understanding. What part of Al-Fatiha, or what is the takeaway from Surah Al-Fatiha that we need to understand when we perform our solat?
Wow, mashallah. There are 7 ayat in Al-Fatiha. I mean, I can open up a class for this. But if let's say we just start Bismillah, the first word is Bismillah. You know, knowing that Allah is with you. Perhaps you have a problem. Perhaps, you know, your iman is, you feel very low in iman. You don't have any gas in your car. You cannot move, you know. And then you remind yourself that Bismillah, Allah is with me. Allah is always with me. Now that itself give you that energy. That itself give you that kind of confidence that I must move on in life. So Bismillah is very powerful, mashallah. Just like how when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companion was worried in the cave, he just said, La tahzan, inna Allah ma'ana. Don't be sad, don't worry, Allah is with us. So just Bismillah is already powerful enough. And then knowing that Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, is repeated twice. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, Ar-Rahmanirrahim again. Now the word Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim actually means Allah loves us. And Allah loves us right now. You know, some of us feel that Allah doesn't love me right now because I think that, you know, I've been skipping my salah. My iman is not so good. I don't think Allah loves me. But Allah made every individual, as long as you are a Muslim, it's obligatory on you to pray. And when it's obligatory on you to pray, every cycle of your prayers, every raka'ah, you must read Al-Fatiha. It's like a love letter, Allah telling you that Allah loves you.
Again and again,
Again and
5 times
again
a
and
day.
again, mashallah. So every time you feel that you are low on iman, you're like, oh man, I know my iman is low. You come to the salah and you remind yourself, Allah loves me very much. Doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter what happened, Allah is there with me. So I think the most beautiful part of this Al-Fatiha is actually Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And at the end of it, we say, Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Ya Allah, show me the right path. How many times, I mean, we make choices in our life, right? And we ask Allah to show us the right choice. And we ask Allah not to make us among ad-dallin, those people who are lost. So life is like GPS, right? You have we have a destination. All of us, we have a destination, and we know our destination is not just dunya, it's akhirah. And so we want to be sure that we are on the right path. So we ask Allah to direct us and, you know, ensure that we are always constantly on the right path.
MashaAllah, Ustazah. I never knew that, you know, because I don't fully understand what I'm reading also every day when I solat. So it's really good to know that in the last part, it means what you said just now. I have another question for you. What if, Ustazah, even after reciting Al-Fatiha 5 times a day, even like when I go to sleep, I do it as a practice for my children. Okay, before you go to sleep, you baca Al-Fatiha and also your 3 kul, and then you sleep. Because it's a practice that we try. But the significance behind the practice, we don't know how strong it is. What if after practicing all that, I still cannot feel the connection?
Okay.
What steps can I take?
The issue is we don't understand what we say. We don't understand the 3 kuls. What are the 3 kuls actually? What is it? What does it mean? What's the story behind that? If we only know that the Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas, the Prophet ﷺ, actually he had someone did black magic on him. And so this surah were revealed to him. The angel came and tell him to recite this surah. And as he recite, because the one that did the black magic towards him tied 11 knots. So in these 2 surah, there are 11 verses. So as he recite each verse, each knot is untied. So we are protected by the harms of others. That is in Surah Al-Falaq. Surah An-Nas, we are protected from the harms that is within us. So if we really read Surah Al-Falaq, Surah An-Nas, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwallahu Ahad, and we really internalize, it can really bring us to tears. In fact, there was a man during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He loves Surah Al-Ikhlas. Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Sometimes when the Imam keep reading Qul Huwallahu Ahad, you're like, my husband or my husband keep reading Qul Huwallahu Ahad lah, Ustazah.
Senang only. Easy, right? The
The
easiest.
Imam at the mosque every time read are very long. My husband only Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Do you know that there was a guy who did that during the time of the Prophet, and the Prophet ﷺ says, wajabat, wajabat, wajabat. That means is wajib on him, is wajib on him, is wajib on him. And the Sahaba, the companions was like, ma wajabat? What's wajib on him? And the Prophet ﷺ says, wajabat lahul jannah. He's going to go to Jannah. Why? Because he loves to read the Surah Al-Ikhlas. So if you really know, and Surah Al-Ikhlas is actually 1/3 of the whole Quran. Yeah, the meaning of it is so deep, mashallah. So if you really, equip ourselves with knowledge, go for Islamic classes, and we really understand even the shorter surah like Al-Fatiha, even one verse from the Quran. Azhar, even one verse of the Quran, if you really internalize it, it can change your whole life. A lot of us think that we need to sit down and khatam the Quran.
Yeah.
And then we become good Muslim.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but no, one verse, it can change your life. One verse, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, saying that Allah loves us, it can change a person's life who maybe that person wants to end the life, want to end his or her life, but he remembered that Allah SWT loved him. It makes a huge difference. So I think it's this time of Ramadan, we really, really need to make the effort to really understand. If you cannot understand everything about the Quran, at least some part of the Quran. Even one verse can change your life. So just go and do it. MashaAllah.
That
And
is
be
such
addicted.
great advice. I think I'm going to take on the challenge and I will try to understand the basic surah that we learn.
Yes,
and it's so funny
insyaAllah.
you should say that because the one you said about Adik class having your husband read Adik class only in a very easy
No
way.
lah, not my husband lah.
No,
But some
not you.
people say
Yeah,
that. I was
yeah.
like,
I mean,
it's okay. Yeah.
I feel that my husband read the easiest surah.
It's okay,
But yeah,
yeah.
you are right. And I mean, if we don't listen to our sharing today, we won't know that actually the surah itself is actually very beneficial to us.
Yes.
My next question to you is, what causes this sense of spiritual disconnection, even after all our effort? I want to know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I want to know. I think
Okay.
most of us also would like to know the answer to this question.
Okay. Azhar, if you have not eaten the whole day, will you be hungry?
Yes.
Yes. Will you look for food?
Yes.
I think that's the first thing we look for, right?
Yeah.
When we are hungry. So when we are hungry, we look for food. So similarly, our soul need nourishment. When our soul, it lacks of that nourishment, okay, it will be in the state where the iman is at the lowest. So that means it's a sign for us. It's like a warning sign, for us to feed our soul. Through our salah, through understanding our salah. Even if we have done our salah, then we have to really understand why is this salah not impacting me? Through reading the Quran, through doing something, through attending Islamic classes. There is a difference when you don't attend Islamic classes for perhaps 1 month.
Yeah.
And then you start attending. Can you feel the difference?
I can really, we can
Yeah,
really
you can
feel the difference.
So that is when your soul is nourished, you are more motivated to actually do ibadah. Yeah, that's when your iman is high. You feel like you want to pray on time. But when it's depleting, it's like a tank, or in the oil tank. When it's depleting, then you feel like you are not really moving that fast. That's a sign that your soul need to be nourished. That's a sign that you need to push yourself to go for Islamic classes, understand the Quran, understand what you're reading in the Salah. So this is actually a push. So when our iman is low, it's actually a good thing. It pushes us to
do
actually go for
more.
more, to do for
Right.
more. Yeah.
If I want to get back on track, other than reading the Quran and understanding and internalizing the meaning, what other methods can I use?
First, of course, you can learn how to read the Quran. Now, learning to read the Quran, it takes time, all right? But it's not difficult. You can take your own time, but it's a skill. So you need to practice it every day. You cannot be attending a class once a week and you expect to be reading the Quran. So it's every day, practicing. And inshallah, I've mentored and I have students who took a few weeks to learn the Quran. So you can read the Quran. Secondly, if you cannot read the Quran, you can read the translation of the Quran. Azhar, I love to do this. When I'm sad and when I'm lost and I need to have some kind of motivation or some kind of guidance, I would take the wudu, and then I pray, or if I'm having my menstruation, I'll just take the tafsir of the Quran and I open up any place, and I just ask Allah, Ya Allah, show me your guidance, because these are the words of God. And so many times I will just read, and there'll be something that impacted me so much. It either made me cry so much, or either like, Ya Allah, you understand me so much. I don't have to explain to you. If you go to a counselor, you have to explain to the counselor, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows exactly what you're going through. So that at that time, I really connected to the Quran, because I felt that the Quran understand me, and the Quran is Allah's words. So these are the things that you can do with the Quran. If you cannot read the Quran, you can connect to the Quran like that. You can listen to the Quran. You just on while you're driving, listen to the Quran. It's a shifa. You get your, it's beautiful, and start to memorize the Quran. The short surah, and do anything you can about the Quran. Go for tadabbur classes. I'm teaching tadabbur classes, and these tadabbur classes, I felt it can be one ayah, but if you understand the real meaning of that one ayah, wow, it's addictive.
Sorry, what is tadabbur classes?
Tadabbur is ponder. So tadabbur classes are classes that make you ponder and reflect on the verses.
So you will share certain verses in the Quran and what it means.
Yes. So like just now, the Al-Falaq, An-Nas, Al-Ikhlas. How many of us read but we don't understand?
Yeah.
Surah, just Al-Fatiha itself. How many of us really understand? What does it mean? What Allah wants to tell us. It's sad if you don't know, because initially I don't have Islamic background. So when I went to Masjidil Haram, I heard the Imam read. I was quite sad when the Imam cried and I didn't cry. So I was telling myself, how come he cried?
Yeah.
This message is for us, not just for him, just because he knows Arab. I don't know Arab. I don't know Arabic. So I told myself, no, I must study Arab. I must study the Quran. So I make a dua to Allah, Ya Allah, make me understand the Quran. And that was when I was 15 years old at Masjidil Haram. Now, Alhamdulillah, I'm teaching the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just answered the dua. Just ease my path to actually learn Islam, learn the Quran, and teach others. So just make the intention. You take one step, Allah will run to you. Yeah, just make that first single step, proper intention, Allah will make things easy for you.
And I have to say also that I have an English translation of the Quran. So when I read it, without actually having any background knowledge or a teacher to guide us, for example, is very different.
Yes. Yeah.
If you compare to attending classes like you mentioned, attending tadabbur classes, or even listening to ustaz, asatizahs like you, when you explain and teach us, it's very different from just reading the English translation of the Quran.
Yes. I truly understand that. Some people ask me, Ustazah, why is it like haphazard? Like suddenly this story, go to this story. I don't understand what's the link.
Yes.
There is a link. Yeah, so you have to study and you have to understand every verse in the Quran, every surah in the Quran. It has its reason why it's there. So it's very beautiful. The moment you study the Quran, and especially in Ramadan, the vibes are there. Everybody's reading Quran, everybody's learning the Quran. You just get this, you understand that it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Islam makes so much sense. The Quran makes so much sense. So if you don't find any sense in the Quran, then perhaps you're not reading it correctly. So go for classes and understand it.
Must take the effort to understand as well.
Yeah.
I just came back from Tarawih and there were so many people, mashallah. And I realized one thing. Ramadan looks different for everyone. In fact, Ramadan might look different for you this year as compared to last year. And that's okay. The most important thing to remember is that Allah always looks at the sincerity of the heart above all else. So let's not compare our Ramadans and focus on Allah instead.
So Ustazah, I want to share with you a personal reflection that maybe I can seek your advice from. I am currently pregnant and before this, I have gone through previous Ramadans where I was also breastfeeding. So during this month where everyone is gearing up and working hard to make the most out of the month, I am here feeling very heavy and my energy is low. I'm trying my best to see if I can last through the day of fast. But sometimes it gets very discouraging and I feel quite sad that I cannot make the most out of the month, of this blessed month. So for people or other women or other moms like me who might face the same thing, what is your advice for us, Ustazah?
Okay, mashallah. First and foremost, congratulations. I think this is an issue that I think many women has brought up, and I personally also felt the same way because they are Ramadans that I could fast while pregnant. In fact, I could fast the whole month, and they are Ramadan which I couldn't fast the whole month because I was giving birth. My last one I gave birth on the just before, a few hours before Hari Raya. Okay, so I was already at my last lap, so it was very difficult for me to fast. First and foremost, we have to remember this. Number one, what Allah SWT give us, Allah knows it very well. Allah knows what we are going through, and breastfeeding and also being pregnant is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. I'm sure you know.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes, you know, when I look at you, Azza, I'm already feeling tired. Because I remembered all my 4 pregnancies. It was not easy. It was really not easy, mashallah. And so when you, and every woman is different. It doesn't mean that someone who is able to fast, she is better than someone who's not able to fast. And if you, let's say, if you can fast, alhamdulillah, you know, and if you cannot fast, it's also alhamdulillah. That means Allah love you so much. And in Islam, there is a rukhsah. A rukhsah means there is, you are given that choice, you know, if you feel that you cannot fast, or doctor said, you know, you cannot fast because of certain complications, you actually don't have to fast. And that is a sign of Allah's love towards us. How many of us actually feel guilty just because we cannot fast? We feel less of a Muslim. We feel like we cannot get the most of Ramadan. You know,
Yes.
like, you know,
Wasted,
you know. There are also ladies who come up to me, can I eat pills? You know, can I, because I want to fast the whole of Ramadan. This is what Allah SWT has given us. And Allah given us this through our Rahim. Our Rahim is our wombs. The word Rahim, if you remember just now, Rahman and Rahim, actually comes from the same word. Our womb. Ra, ha, mim. You know, RHM is coming from the same word. It means love. This is a place full of love and a sign of Allah's love towards us. So if we cannot, let's say we cannot do others, don't compare yourself with others. And don't compare yourself with others who are pregnant, who are breastfeeding. If you cannot do what they do, Allah SWT knows exactly what you do. Allah SWT doesn't make it less of a less Ramadan for you or less reward for you just because you cannot fast. So what you can do is, there are other things. A lot of us, we narrow the definition of ibadah to just praying tarawih or fasting. The ibadah is more than that. Carrying a baby in your womb for 9 months is a huge ibadah. You are doing a great ibadah. I mean, compared to me, I think, mashallah, you sitting down there, it is a huge ibadah because it's more uncomfortable for you.
MashaAllah.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you, Ustazah.
all these are ibadah. Breastfeeding is ibadah. Okay, and all these are, you know, like doing zikir. Doing zikir is an ibadah. You can read the Quran. Like you can read the translation of the Quran. If you are breastfeeding, you can read the Quran. So there are other kinds of ibadah. Even cooking in, you know, in Ramadan, if you give someone food and that person break fast with that food, then you have the same rewards as that person who's fasting. So let's say if you're not fasting, but you're cooking for the family of 6, you have the reward of 6 people who are fasting. Subhanallah.
And you know, we don't really realize this because we don't know what the equation of the reward is. It's something like cooking, for example. You say that during Ramadan, you get the rewards for cooking for others. But actually, it's something that we do every day, for example. But during Ramadan, it is magnified. Am I correct?
Yes, it's magnified. And I think what makes things worse is the negativities that come from others is like, you know, oh, you can't fast. You know, kesian, you know, like in Malay call it kesian.
Yeah, then they will
like
look at you
pity,
certain
look at you that
way.
You know, when I was pregnant, I can fast.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I'm breastfeeding too, but I can, you know,
Yeah.
I can fast. Not every woman is the same. You don't have to feel guilty. You know, if you just give birth and your child is like 3 months or 2 months and you're exclusively breastfeeding, your milk is the sole you know, nourishment and nutrients for your child. So you are not able, you know, if let's say your child is 9 months, you know, she or she is eating, you know, other food.
Yeah.
Then it's easier for you.
Exactly,
Yeah.
correct.
So you need to do preparation before that, before you even jump into the idea of you want to fast during breastfeeding. You have to make sure you have a stock of milk. You have to make sure that you know what you're doing and you're confident of yourself. So mummies out there, if you really feel that you cannot fast. Don't force yourself.
And you know, it's been proven that during Ramadan, if we do fast, our milk supply drop and it won't come back.
Yes. I experienced that, and some mummies, they said that they don't experience that. So if you don't experience, mashallah, if you're healthy enough,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah. But if you experience that, then don't fast. Your child need you, and for you to break that fast, for you to make sure you break that fast and you eat because you want to provide for your child.
Yes.
How huge an ibadah is that? You know, Sayyidatina Hajar, the wife of Prophet Ibrahim, ran from Safa, Marwa, Safa, Marwa, just to find water to feed the baby, her baby, Prophet Ismail. And because of that, Allah honor her and gave her Zamzam water, which until now we can taste Zamzam water. And because of that, if you see the men running at the Safa Marwa, there's a green light, right? The
Yeah.
men are actually running, honoring the sacrifice of a mother who tried to find food for the child. So here we are, we are disgracing women who break fast because of their child, when actually Islam honors such women. It's okay to break your fast for your baby. It's okay. It's okay to break your fast if you have a complication or you fear for your child. You can pay back that fast, whenever you are ready to pay back.
Which brings us to the next topic, Ustazah, paying back of our puasa and our fast. I think a lot of us, me included, are guilty of this. Every year, we try our best to pay back our hutang, our fast. But every year, we cannot remember how many days it was and whether we actually managed to complete paying everything. Especially for breastfeeding mothers, pregnant mothers, we have more. If it's just menstruation, it's just maybe 7 days at most. But for us, we never keep track and we accumulate the number of years. How can we calculate that, Ustazah? And if we cannot pay, I heard about, we can pay fidya, or sometimes we must even pay fidya and bayar the fast. Can you advise us on this?
Okay, there are two opinions on this, but the bigger opinion and the stronger opinion is when you don't fast because of breastfeeding or because of pregnancy, then you have to pay back the fast. Okay, whenever that you can. So, for example, if you are pregnant this year and then next year you are breastfeeding and then the next year you are pregnant again, then you are breastfeeding again. So that's 4 years, then 6 years, That means you are still considered someone who are not able to pay back the fast. So once everything is done, all right, it can be 5 years, it can be 6 years, it can be 7 years, until you are able to really fast, then you can pay back the fast. But that saying, it's not easy. It accumulates. I
Yeah,
understand.
correct.
You have 30 days from 1 year, another 30 days, another 30
And then
days.
as you go through the year, alamak, which year did I give birth? Or which year did I breastfeeding this year? Cannot remember already.
Yeah, mashallah. So you have to take, I think you have to sit down. You have to see the years when you give birth to your child and all that. And you have to give a rough estimation lah. Okay, but take the higher number.
Okay.
And then once you estimate that, and if you look at Muizzez, there's a website to actually count your fidya. So they actually have a calculator there. So you can just put the number of years. This year, for example, 2019, I have this number of years. 2020, this number of days. 2021, I have this number of days. So you write it there, and then they can calculate for you. So they will calculate for you, your fidya is this amount.
So this is on top of bayar puasa, you also bayar fidya.
Yes. Of course, there's another opinion which says that you don't have to fast lah. You don't have to fast. And honestly speaking, my husband looking at me qada my fast, he was saying, can't you take the other opinion? Because it's not easy. I have to teach, I have to use my voice, and then for me to to fast is not really easy.
Exactly.
And my kids are still small. Then I understand, but I said Allah will not burden us beyond our capacity. If I cannot pay back now, Allah SWT knows how much. It's not easy. If we can say Monday, Thursday, we can do the Monday, Thursday fast, or we can try to fast the white days in the middle of the month. We can try to do that, but still it's not easy. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Okay? So give yourself some time. But if let's say you are able to pay back, you pay back the fast. So when women ask me, which opinion should I take?
Yeah.
It's up to you. But of course, this is fasting. This is something that we do not want to just, in Malay, you keep say meremehkan lah, take it for granted.
Sorry, Ustazah, just to make it clear, the second opinion is that we just bayar fidya, but we don't need to bayar the puasa. Is that correct?
Yes. Actually, for Mazhab Syafi'i, If let's say a pregnant mother, she did not fast because she fears for herself, then she just have to qada the fast. But if she fear for her child's health, then she have to qada and pay fidyah. Okay? But if that year she couldn't, pay back, and then it accumulates to a few years, then she has to pay fidyah lah.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much, Ustazah, for the insightful sharing on how to pay back our fast and fidyah. My next question to you, Ustazah, will be, after the hustle and bustle of Ramadan, we have Shawwal and we start to celebrate and relax. How do we maintain this closeness that to Allah that we have gotten during Ramadan? How do we maintain it to the next 11 months of the year?
Okay, that's a very good question, because Ramadan, everyone is, having that vibe.
We always feel like Ramadan is very special. We work extra hard for Ramadan.
Yes,
correct. So how do we bring it forward to the next 11 months?
Yes, if you go to a gym and you work out, if you go for 1 month and you develop muscles and all that, and then after that 1 month you stop, what will happen to you? Okay, you're not going to be the same as that 1 month. So you have to maintain it. So that's the same thing. Ramadan is actually a training ground, like what I said earlier. For example, have you ever wondered why Salat Tarawih, there's so many rakaat? Why after 2 rakaat, 2 rakaat, 2 rakaat, 2 rakaat? For what? It's actually for us to practice to focus on God for so many rakaat. Imagine just focus for 4 rakaat Zuhur. After Ramadan, we only have shorter 4 rakaat. 2 rakaat subuh. We have 4 rakaat. So we are practicing on focusing. Every time we think of something else, come back. I'm not supposed to think of that. I'm not supposed to think of that. So I'm supposed to focus. It's a therapy. And then after Ramadan, so we keep that kind of focus even after Ramadan. So we need to have that same enthusiasm. Continue small habits. Just pick out small habits and continue. Another habit that you can continue is to wake up before subuh. We are trained for 30 days to wake up before subuh, right? So for sahur. So we wake up before subuh to tahajjud. We are used to waking up at 5 o'clock, for example, or 4:30. So after Ramadan, we start waking up early also. That's a practice for us so that we start our day early at 5 a.m. So a lot of things we can continue. For example, the Quran. Like what I say, the moment you realize how impactful one ayah of the Quran is, once you ponder it, it becomes addictive. That's what happened. It becomes addictive. You want to know more. 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 So even after the 30 days of Ramadan, the addiction is there. You still want to go back to the Quran. You still want to understand the Quran. You still, without reading the Quran and without understanding one ayah of your life, you feel like one day is not complete. You want to go back to the Quran. Make it in such a way. It's not just khatam the Quran in Ramadan and khalas, that's it. I'm done with the Quran, and the Quran will collect dust until the next Ramadan.
Year. Correct.
Yeah, so I think we really need to make practical goals.
Changes also.
Yeah, changes and small habits that we change ourselves. Even the salah before prayers, after prayers, salah sunat, salah duha, things like that lah. So we practice, and of course Ramadan also we are more conscious. The whole essence of Ramadan, Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, is la'allakum tattaqun, is so that we have more God consciousness. So, if I have a water here, if I have a glass of water here, even though it's halal, I cannot drink it. I won't drink it because I'm conscious. I can drink if there's no one here, I can drink it. But I'm not drinking it because I know I'm conscious that Allah is watching me. So that is being practiced. When someone scold me during Ramadan, I'm not supposed to scold back because I have to make sure that I don't, say things which, can make my rewards of my fast lessen. So that is a practice, and I practice that after Ramadan. I am more God consciousness. I want to get angry, but I'm conscious of God. I want to do things, some things, and it's wrong, I'm conscious of God. So this God consciousness have to stay with us even after Ramadan. So we become a more God conscious person.
It's so interesting how you make meaning out of the usual practices that we do during Ramadan. And I think it's very enlightening that we can really learn from, like how we keep practicing what we do during Ramadan, wake up before subuh, and do your sunnah prayers and all that. I think it's very good how Ustazah has put it into words so that the rest of us can also practice what you have put into words. MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Ustazah, for this episode. I think just like me, our viewers have also learned a lot from your insightful sharing and what it means to have faith, why faith is so important for us in our lives, especially during Ramadan, and all the steps that we can take to ensure that our Ramadan is a fruitful one. Thank you so much for listening. And if you like this episode, please follow Tune Islam, share and stay tuned for more updates. Assalamualaikum.